Good morning. Today is the 18th of Iyar, Lag HaOmer, and also the 16th of May. And we're at the end of chapter 2 in the mitzvah of bringing the Omer offering and counting the Omer in Derech Mitzvosecha, page 54, halfway through the first paragraph. And so what did we see yesterday? That there's this feedback loop, that every time that we bring the Omer, what we're doing is we're strengthening the power of the angels that strike the produce and make it grow. And so we finished yesterday with this idea that sometimes this thing which is harshness and aggression is actually a catalyst for things to change, for things to grow. And we usually associate it with anger or things that we're not very happy with. But these are what are called the five judgments. And the Torah says they have a place in the world. And without them, it might take forever for the produce to grow. It might take generations. Because think about it, how fast is also a simple thing, simple thought experiment. How much does the fetus grow, the human fetus in the mother's womb, from two cells that join together, become basically really one cell, two half cells, let's call it. They become one cell, and in 9 months, we have a few trillion cells.
There's nothing in the world that can...
So it's in every animal, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's this period in which there's intense growth. And in terms of mass, there's nothing similar to it. Nothing at all. It's more than a supernova. Really.
You said math?
Mass. In terms of the mass.
The mass, you mean the...
Weight even. Just weight. We go from something that weighs something like
I see what you're saying.
One millionth of a gram to something that weighs 3,000 grams.
Yeah.
Unbelievable! It's orders of magnitude greater than anything.
Yes.
It's orders. I think it's. I didn't do a comparison.
Fruit, anything, vegetable.
Everything that's in the womb, whether in the mother's womb, like an animal or man, or anything that's in the earth, is growing the same way during this gestation period, in a way that's incomparable to anything. It's much more in animals and in humans, because in a plant there's a seed. The seed has some mass, but most of the seed is rotten. It rots out, and what's left is really just a remnant. Okay. So this could only happen if there were harsh judgments. You can't. Nothing like this can happen. Nothing like this could happen if. Nothing like this could happen if there weren't harsh judgments. It simply wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have this tremendous spurt of growth. So this is needed at the beginning. We said that in general this is Esau's side. This is the left side. And that's why Yitzchak loved Esau, because he wanted to bring the redemption right away.
And Esau is a builder of the world.
And he builds very, very quickly. Everything's very quick. By us, by the right side, things take a long time. But the whole idea of rectifying the world, of redemption, is bringing these two sides together. We're not looking for Esau to do it. We'll do it. We do it the right way. That's called Orot de Tov Bekelim de Tikkun, lights of chaos, which are these incredibly harsh judgments that are contained within rectified vessels. And these rectified vessels, they come from the many generations of building them, these rectified vessels that we have.
That's on our side?
Both of them are on our side. We take both of them.
Take both.
So there's no such thing as Mashiach now as something that belongs to non-Jews. It's not true. It's absolutely something that we're also born the same way. We use it the same way. It just has to be in a rectified vessel. Okay. So now he says, "V'zeh sod shetitbarech lechem tvuah shebasadot." And this is a secret of what we mean, that we bring the Omer offering in order to bless or sustain or increase the produce in the field. Because we are doing this whole process of bringing down Gvura. making these angels strike the new produce in a way that will make it grow. This is what it says in the Zohar there, and in our parsha also, because our parsha, Emor, is the parsha in which we discuss the mitzvah of Sefirat HaOmer, of bringing the Omer and counting the Omer. This is where it's all at. That this is similar to the offering brought by a sota, by a wayward woman. It's called minchat knaot. לפי שצריך להיות בחינת התעוררות גבורות. וזה סוד בדיקו דאור חוזר. I don't know what this means, but this is the same thing as the awakening of the harsh judgments in order to do what? If she didn't do anything, if she's only suspected for no reason, if she was sterile until now she will be able to have children. Because of these gvurot. And this is a general thing in life, that sometimes there are periods in life where we suffer from harsh judgments. They seem to be coming from everywhere. And it's a great principle in Chassidic way of life, in the Chassidic way of life, is that when these things happen, you should bless them. Because they are going to create something that you weren't able to create. They're going to push you to do something that you weren't able to create. So you suddenly have this very big, let's call it a fight, but I don't want to call it a fight. You have a really...
You said a fight?
I don't want to say a fight. I want to say something like a misunderstanding, something that causes a lot of tension, tremendous amount of tension at home. So you should know that from this something great will come. This principle is also said in, for instance, that after a fire, one becomes rich. What's the idea here? That the fire is the judgments. It's always the left side, the Eish. And one becomes rich is the effluence that comes down, and in this case, the affluence that comes down on the right side afterwards.
The earth was so raw after the mobile.
Right, and then everything came, right.
What's the judgment?
Dinim.
Oh.
Im nitachda beto v'yela aliyah v'yitron. So if she was actually she was actually suspected for nothing, then she will have a great elevation, this wayward woman. וכמו שנבחנה הארץ בשעורים שגדלו מהשפעתה שלא נתאחדו ברע ועולים לריח ניחוח להשם. And this is the same thing now, that we take this produce and we bring it as a symbolic offering of these great, again, what's the idea here? That the barley ripens before the wheat. So the idea here, again, this is a general idea in all of life, that the gvura precedes the chesed, that the judgment precedes the loving kindness. We see this in everything. What is the judgment that we receive at the beginning of life? That we have a yetzer hara, that we have an evil inclination, we have an animal soul. The same way, the barley ripens before the wheat. First you have, for 13 years, you only have an animal soul. And then at age 13, the divine soul begins to come in. That's the aspect of man in us. So first we're an animal, as it were, for many, many years, for 13 years, and it leaves a tremendous impression, but it turns out that without that, you couldn't develop enough so that the divine soul would have something to come into. You have to have it in stages. Same way, in ripening, the barley ripens first. So it has taken more of the harsh judgments because it did it much more quickly than the wheat. The wheat is like the divine soul. It takes time until it ripens. And this is the general order of things in life. It's called Bereisha Chashucha Vehadar Nehora. First darkness and then light. First there's din, then there's chesed. It's just the way things are, in order to be able to make things move forward.
You know, secular Jews who after 13 don't have the proper...
Right, they're left with the animal soul.
You know what they're left with? Tremendous drive, curiosity, and a need to tikkun it, but they don't know. But lo malchus shadai. They have to do it in the world.
Right, look
what they accomplished.
They accomplish a lot.
The atomic bomb. I mean, you know what I'm getting at.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the way the world works. So we take the barley, which took all the harsh judgments, and the way we know this is because it ripened much sooner than the wheat, which represents already the the loving kindness, the chesed, and we bring it, and the fact that we bring it to the altar, we say, even the animal soul, even what we have as an animal soul, we are dedicating to the altar. We're dedicating to God. What is that in us again?
You mean the barley?
The barley. The barley is the harsh judgments, even those. So what is this in man? In man today, not in the agricultural world. What is it in us? This ability to contemplate, this ability to think. The ability to think, to contemplate, develops in the first 13 years of life. It's not very much needed in order to be a Jew. Why? Because in order to be a Jew, theoretically, all you need to do is follow what the Torah says. You don't have to think.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to be stupid.
No, but you don't.
But you don't have to overthink it. When people overthink, that's when they get into trouble. So there's this thing about contemplation. The contemplation is very important, but it's part of the animal soul. It's called the intellectual soul, which develops out of the animal soul. So what happens? What do we say? We bring this intellectual soul that developed with the animal soul, we bring it to the altar. We bring it to Hashem. That's called Chassidic contemplation. Chassidic contemplation won't bring you. You can contemplate from now until the end of the time. You won't come to one mitzvah. You won't come to the conclusion that you need to perform a single mitzvah. Why? Because it doesn't come out of contemplation. It comes out of the fact that we were commanded. Hashem has to command us.
So
what is it? שהתבוננות לא תביא אותך לאף מצווה. לא תגיע contemplation. לא תגיע אפילו למצווה אחת. There's not a single commandment that you'll come to a conclusion you're supposed to keep. You can't invent it. The reason we do it is because Hashem commanded us. Otherwise we wouldn't have known. We could sit on this forever. All the wise people in the world who are not Jewish have been thinking for generations. They didn't come to a single... but there we explained that for Avram, what he has is he has the divine will that's coming out of his nature. It's something else. He's not being commanded, but he has, because of his bittul, because he's so nullified to the divine will, that he senses it, even though he's not commanded. That's something else. But it doesn't come out of his contemplation. Contemplation is something else.
So what's proper contemplation? You go back to...
You think. You take an idea and you start contemplating it, and you think it.
But
let's say you want to talk about what's the best way to run a state, right? You want to think. Okay. So Plato writes the Republic.
I was saying, yeah.
So we have many things he could say.
So, but how do we do that?
Because first of all, they look in the Torah and they say, "What does Hashem want from me?" He says, "I want you to have a king. I want you to have a prophet. I want you to have this and this."
So our contemplation should be Torah-based. I'm just trying to...
So what we're doing is we're taking the contemplation and we're bringing it to the altar by contemplating Torah aspects, things in the Torah. But that is still not the divine will. It's not the same thing. The divine will is much higher than contemplation. So we have to end here, but we're sort of in the middle of explaining this very important point, that contemplation is not the end-all of Yiddishkeit.
So is that where we, as Chabad, would have some problem with Brazil?
Oh, why?
Because they have this, what do they call it?
It's bodhidus, it's talking to God, that's something else. It's just talking to God, it's not even contemplation. It's like prayer.
Okay.
It's a level of prayer.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, something. Okay, in any case, good job.
No, it isn't. You're right.